But for me, who likes sweet English barley wines, it's amazing. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. I don't know when I'm going to post this, but I wanted to film an intro drinking a homebrew. I poured this beer, my barley wine, on Christmas Eve, and there's definitely carbonation after being in the bottle for like a month and 10 days or so. I bottled it on November 16th. There's definitely carbonation in there, and I'll use my phone flashlight to show you guys. It's definitely, I don't know how well the camera's showing it up, but when I tilt the glass, there's definitely bubbles in there. There's bubbles on the bottom of the glass too. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's definitely carbonated. It might just be taking time to carbonate because it's such a big beer. I remember with my triple, it took, and that was even lighter bodied because it's not such a malt forward beer, that took a while to carbonate. So because there is carbonation streaming when I tilt the glass, again I'll show you a close up, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but because there is carbonation in there, I'm not going to be too worried because I have to enter this into competition. But I know of people like Clements Home who re-yeasted the beer, but because there is carbonation in there, and it is like a 9.5–10% beer, I'm gonna do some research, but most likely I'm just gonna give it time because there is a fair amount of carbonation, small bubbles rising. Let's go in for the aroma. Oh, the appearance is a really nice dark red beer, I should say, but the aroma, definitely a rich caramel from the caramel malts, like some nice stone fruits, like cherries, or stone fruits, dark fruits, a little bit of cherry, a little bit of date, but it's a really complex beer. It almost is already, after a month and a half in the bottle, developing some really nice sherry notes too, which is amazing. Really nice for 10%. Of course it's pretty cold, so it'll mask a little bit of the alcohol, but sometimes when you pour a really big beer, it smells hot, and then when it warms up, it's not as hot. But this, even right out of the fridge, being out of the fridge for 10 minutes max, it's not smelling hot at all, so it's going for the taste. Oh, it's so delicious. You got that caramel, the fruits, like it almost has like a mixture of like fresh cherries and dark cherries. So it's like you get maybe a little bit of like just a light fruitiness, like a pleasant, light, refreshing fruitiness, followed by caramel and dark fruit. So it's really, just glides over the palate. It's so good. A little bit of fig comes out as you sip it, and I hope I have the opportunity to trade with some people and send them this beer, which I'm calling the Innkeeper barley wine, because it's the top of my lineup. And I think that last year, when I didn't achieve the 9.5–10% I was looking for, the beer, even now, is very oak forward because I waxed the bottle so it didn't oxidize as much, so it's tasting good, but it doesn't have the rich barley wine body. And I think upping the amount of caramel malts and putting some 120 in, it really brought that body, having a bigger yeast starter with the proper amount of yeast, having a vigorous start to the fermentation, switching the yeast to a yeast which is the 1968 London ESB. Really accentuate the malt character, adding the calcium chloride. Really brought out the malts, even though I added it at the end of the mash and not at the beginning of the mash. Really brought out all those flavors. Just amazing. One of my, probably my best malt forward beer that I've made so far. The cool thing is though that I feel that the American hops keep it, although it is a sweet beer, and at the 2-week mark when it really wasn't carbonated, it just had a little hiss and it didn't have as much bubbles as it does now. Some people were saying it's a little like too sweet for them, but I think that's because they were drinking other beers at the time. But for me, who likes sweet English barley wines, it's amazing. Has the body, aroma, the flavor, nice dark color, everything I want. I really do. The only thing that I would change is that I want it to really. This is it. Before I bottled it, so it gains a little in the bottle from the bottle conditioning. Before I bottled it at 9.5%, or in other words, it went from 1.100 down to 1028, which is pretty darn good for a barley wine. Cause usually they stall about 10:30, between 10:30 and 10:35. So that's good. But I really do want to hit that 10% mark to go into the bottle at 10% and gain that little mark from the bottle conditioning, because that's negligible because you don't know how much more it gains. So I really do just want to hit that 10% mark. At 9.5% it's tasting great, but I just think that I want to see if I can get the efficiency on my mash and everything to get a 10% big malty beer like a barley wine or a Russian Imperial Stout or Imperial Porter, beers like that. So overall, pretty darn happy with it. As it warms up, more carbonation is becoming apparent. When I first poured the beer, I kind of panicked and said I wanted to refilm and regroup my thoughts. So I'm glad I did that. So I'm going to shoot you off to the rest of the footage for this Homebrew Wednesday video, and I'll see you soon. Alright guys, so for a little show and tell, I just wanted to show you the few things that I bought with some of my holiday gift money. So first, I bought off my sponsor's website, cornykeg.com, 2 Pepsi used corny kegs, just to make it, because they're a little bit taller and a little narrower, so it'll be easier logistically inside my keezer to move things around, even though I'm still going to be able to only probably fit 4 full-size kegs in the keezer, and 5 if I want to stretch it, to put 2 on the hump instead of 1. Then up here I made a chalkboard on tap board, just to display for my friends who come over what's on tap, and also just to, as you guys see with my beer cap bar top and my beer label collage that I have up here. I like the aesthetics, just to make my home brewery look really nice. So then I ordered from beveragefactory.com all the stuff to install 2 Perlick faucets, but the faucets themselves were back ordered. I should be getting them in the next few days. So hopefully next Homebrew Wednesday I'll show you what it looks like with the drip tray put in and everything. So I put in the shanks, because I bought it as a combo of the shank and the faucet, but the faucet, as I said, was out of stock. So I have the shanks in, and I just put Gorilla tape over the front and in the back just to prevent air from leaking out from inside. And then on the inside, as you see, I have the shanks put in, but because of my wonky drilling, that one doesn't fully sit flush, but it should be okay. If I decide to put silicone there, I could. And then I taped the end. But now I have my Breakfast and Pilsner on tap, and some beers over there, and yeah, so that's what I've bought so far with my holiday money. It's probably going to be all what I buy beer-wise, because I have some other stuff that I want to buy, like clothing and other stuff, but otherwise, that's my show and tell for now, and let's get back to a regularly scheduled Homebrew Wednesday. Cheers. Hey BrewTuber, so I hope you enjoyed my review of my English barley wine, or my Innkeeper barley wine for this year, or 2014 actually, and my little show and tell. I'll be showing you what I bought with my Hanukkah gift money. I just want to finish off this Homebrew Wednesday. I'm filming this on Thursday morning, just because I went out last night, Wednesday night, and didn't get a chance to really film anything else for Homebrew Wednesday. So I'm sitting here on Thursday morning drinking my nice French pressed Kenya blend from Starbucks, which is one of my favorite Starbucks blend. And then I have some stuff more to show you and to talk about. So first, I'll try, I don't know how the camera's focusing, but going from kind of showing you stuff that's on both sides of this group of bottles here, which I'll talk about. So first, last night, Wednesday night, was the January bottle swap at Bitter and Esters, which I've talked about many times. And so at the end of every bottle swap, or towards the end, one of the employees, or usually the owner, one of the owners named John, quiets everyone down, has everybody kind of point to the person whose beers they like the most. And after many months or about a little over a year of going to swaps, I finally won the pint. And even though people have liked my beers, I guess I really like that I finally got the recognition. So I brought my breakfast stout, which I'll have to do a full-on tasting of at some point, maybe for next Homebrew Wednesday. I'll show you a picture here of what it looks like in the glass. You may have seen me pouring it at the end of my 2014 wrap-up video. But I brought that, and I brought my oak-aged barley wine that was like the winter 2013, 2014. That's what really wowed people, and I think tipped the scales in my favor. So you get a nice, just regular pint glass with the Bitter and Esters logo on it, and I've had so much good experiences here that although I don't use pint glasses that often, I'm definitely going to make sure to use this one pretty often, just because of what it represents. Then I also got the most recent issue of Ale Street News, which is a beer publication based out of New Jersey, so it really covers mostly East Coast beer news and a lot of other cool beer topics. And then here on the right, or on my left, your right, I have a bag of grain, and I was going to brew my Pilsner first to have it ready for the NHC, or National Homebrewers Conference competition, but I realized that timeline-wise, I'd really be rushing the lagering stage, and I really that beer, really gets better the longer it lagers, or longer it's in the keg lagering. So I really don't want to rush the lagering, so if I do end up entering beers into that competition, I just won't be entering my Pilsner. But the next beer I am going to brew is going to be a double IPA, using up some of my 2013 hops. So I'll talk more about that recipe, probably in a brew day video or next Homebrew Wednesday. But it should be a pretty damn good beer. It's my first time using honey malt in an IPA, so it should be pretty good. And I'm going to be using like 4 or 5 different hops, so it should be pretty awesome. And then for these beers that I have here, what happened was over the past a while ago, I had problems getting packages delivered to my apartment, because my neighbor would take them in and not tell me, and then bring it to me later in the day, and since then I've been having all my packages shipped elsewhere, mainly to my parents' house in Jersey, because I go there pretty often for the weekend with my wife. But this time I had it shipped to Bitter and Esters because I knew I'd be there on Wednesday night. So my friend Dan Edelman, otherwise known as Drew Brew or Funky Farm Brewery, I'll post the link to his Facebook page down below, or in this blog post. But he sent me beers in the past, and we've been talking, and he wants me to give him my opinion on some of more of his beers. So he sent me 10 different bottles, so I'll quickly go over them. So he sent me this with the hop cap, I believe, is a fresh hop pale ale. And then he sent me 2 bottles of his latest double IPA, which is modeled after Hill Farmstead's Abner, which I believe is one of their year-round double IPAs. So you get 2 bottles of that off the tap, bottle from the keg. Then also bottles from the keg. So he filled really high, like all the way up to the top. It's his can of corn or can-o corn cream ale. Then we have a Belgian blonde, which was single hopped with Saaz, so it should be pretty traditional, pretty fresh, crisp tasting. Then this cap with a WY, I believe, is his English brown ale that he added honey and maple syrup to. And I think he said he brews this one every year. So, since I haven't tried it yet, it should be pretty interesting to try a traditional style with some added ingredients. Then, for a twist, he sent me a cider that he added ginger and lemon to, and I think this is also off the tap, so it should be pretty interesting. I haven't drinking many homebrewed ciders because I'm not a big cider drinker, but that should be pretty good. Then the one I'm most excited for is his English barley wine, of course, because I've been getting into barley wines and brewing my own. So this is a 13% called Off Your Rocker, and I'm probably going to review some of these in Homebrew Wednesdays or in separate videos, but this is one I'm most excited for. So because I want to get my English barley wine up to being about 10% or more, it should be pretty good to taste a homebrewed 13% beer. Then for another traditional beer he brews every year, this is the English oatmeal brown ale with coffee added, which he calls January because he brews in the beginning of every year. So this is the January 2015. Then we have his hot blonde ale, which is a 8.5% Belgian strong golden ale. And finally, one that I have had before, but this is the most recent vintage. It's called Walk on the Wild Side. It's a barrel-aged sour, clocking in at 6% alcohol. So I remember having this last time he sent it to me, but this is the most recent vintage, and I remember it being pretty darn awesome. So I'm looking forward to trying the latest vintage. Just to have a synopsis for what I'm going to be brewing in the beginning of the year, or at least until the SJ Port competition starts, where I have to figure out what I'm going to brew. I'm going to be brewing my double IPA, then my Pilsner because I really want to have that on tap as often as possible, and then a 4-grain IPA with barley, wheat, oats, and rye, and a bunch of new hop varieties which I'm really excited about. So, cheers, happy Homebrew Wednesday, and I hope your 2015 is getting off to as good of a start as mine.